Right now we're going to welcome in, as we do this time every week, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, get his take on high school basketball. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you?
Pretty good, man. What's going on? We're still going with this basketball season. It's never ending.
Yeah, for Cape Atlantic League teams, it was a thrilling run through the state tournament for teams from, Atlantic, Cape May, and Cumberland County. Wildwood boys and girls had a great run. Wildwood Catholic boys, Millville boys, and one team left, and that's the Mainland Regional girls, and they'll obviously play for their first, try to win their first state title in the program's history tomorrow against a very similar Chatham team, noon up in Toms River.
Mike, it really has been a great basketball season. One of the more exciting seasons in the past couple of years that I can remember. When you think about Middle Township had that, a 17-game winning streak. ACIT started off the season with an 11-game win streak. Mainland had a long winning streak in there too. And on the girls' side, the boys' side, Mainland boys make it all the way to the sectional final. Wildwood Catholic boys with that great game against Ranney School, one of the top teams in the nation. They take them right down to the wire. Even out in the other part of South Jersey with Haddonfield coming back from, what were they, down 11 with 2 minutes to go, and they beat Camden. So it's been a tremendous high school basketball playoff season.
Yeah, and don't forget about the Millville boys. They had one of the best seasons in school history. Rhinell Lawrence finished up as the career scoring leader. They upset Eastern Regional in a great semifinal game. The top seed, Audrey Green, scores at the buzzer in overtime to give them the win. And then you just had a number of outstanding individual performances. Not only do you have Rhinell Lawrence, you had DJ Campbell graduate as the leading scorer in Violent history. You have Marcellus Ross of St. Joe score more than 2,000 career points. You have Josh Wright of Cape May Tech finish as the second leading scorer in Cape Atlantic League history with over 2,400 points. Just a tremendous season by both teams and individuals. And the Wildwood Catholic Rainey game, on the boys' side, probably topped it all. Just a great game the other night at Jackson Liberty. Tremendous performance by the Wildwood Catholic boys. They had opportunities to beat, nationally ranked Rainey. Wildwood Catholic up 4 in the fourth quarter, up 3 with less than 2 minutes to play. But Rainey comes back with their 2 McDonald's All-Americans and Brian Antoine and Scotty Lewis and pulls it out in overtime. But, as I wrote, the best news for Wildwood Catholic is, they return nearly everybody on their team. And next season they'll go into the season, which is as much hype as any Cape Atlantic League team since the 95-96 Pleasantville team that won back-to-back Group 2 titles and is really kind of one of the legendary teams in Cape Atlantic League history.
Yeah, I mean, we could really be watching one of those legendary teams as we speak. You talk about that Wildwood Catholic team. I think they're only losing, who are they losing, McGonigal and maybe one other senior.
McGonigal, is the only senior, and that's a big loss for them. He was kind of an underrated part of that team. There's a kid, kind of a program kid that had an outstanding career. He did not play much last season, but he, practiced hard every day. Got to practice against Caleb Fields, who was our Press Co-Player of the Year last season, has now had a great freshman season at Bowling Green. McGonigal kind of played against him every day, stayed in there, got better, and this season was able to start and, really be a steadying influence at point guard for Wildwood Catholic. It was a big part of their success.
And they're also getting the best player from Lower K May's team, right? The Angelov kid transferred over mid-season.
Yeah, he did, and he should be eligible next season. And, he will provide another offensive dimension for him, especially from the perimeter, an outstanding shooter. So, if you put him out there add him into Jacob Hopping and Taj Feet and Jaleel White, Dave Zarvati back, also Ben Church back, you'll have a team that's probably going to be, ranked certainly number 1 in South Jersey to start the season and probably, I would imagine in the top 3 in the state.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, we talk so much about these players all the time, but probably need to give some props to some of these coaches. I mean, when you look around, John Leahy down at Middle Township, they were 4-4 at one point, kind of floundering, and he kind of got in their ear a little bit and said, hey, we're good enough to make a run at this thing if you guys get it together, and kind of lit a fire under them, and they went on that great winning streak. Dan Williams just did a tremendous job with the Mainland boys. Even Coach Baruffi at Ocean City was down 2 starters in the sectional final and really kept that game close with Mainland until the fourth quarter. So really some outstanding coaching jobs with some of these basketball teams.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'll give you 2 more names there. Scott McCracken from Wildwood. Wildwood, the 14th seed, goes all the way to the sectional final. I think they started 2-7 or something, but they were able to put together 3 road wins in the state tournament. They won at 3rd-seeded Salem, then they beat Pittman, they beat at 2nd-seeded Glassboro. They go to the sectional final where they lose a thriller to Clayton. And you look at what John Bruno had, it was his 30th season over there at Ocean City. They won 20 games. He got his 400th career win, so another big season for Ocean City there. And I kind of wrote a column in Friday's paper. You can still find it online. What I'm always fascinated by is, the basketball season ends suddenly for a lot of teams, especially, kind of teams. Wildwood had a lead. Wildwood Catholic had a lead. You talked about Camden Haddonfield. Camden had a lead. There's no other sport where you consistently see late game leads disappear as quickly as you do in basketball, and it hurts even more when it happens in the state tournament because it ends the team season. So I wrote a column on Friday where Scott McCracken talked about kind of emotionally what that does to a coach and how long it takes to recover from it. So, it's a great time of year, but, these losses can be very tough on teams and players.
We probably should give a quick shout out to all the wives and husbands of these coaches too. They go through a lot during the winter months.
Yeah, I mean, their spouses are, definitely probably don't see the coaches as much. They're out every night, and that's what makes the losses so tough. These teams spend as much time together with each other as they do, almost with their families from Thanksgiving till now, and then all of a sudden, in the flick of a switch, it's over. And there is no practice the next day, and there is no next game to prepare for, and that can be very tough, very tough to deal with, when you lose this time of year.
Mike, we had a bunch of players in studio here this morning from the Mainland girls team. They're actually at practice right now, but when you talk about team chemistry, I haven't seen a team in a long time that has this much chemistry. I mean, everybody knows their exact roles. They all play their roles great. They all get along. I mean, these girls have grown up together. They've been playing basketball together since the 3rd grade. It's really neat to see the kind of season they've put together, especially considering they've lost in the South Jersey final for 2 straight years. All that hype with Kylie Watson coming in, and they weren't able to win even the section. And now it seems like they've put it all together. They kind of have all the right parts, so to speak, and which is it's surprising considering you're looking at a team that had four new starters coming in this year.
Well, I mean, that's a big part of it, right? We just talked about, teams, the frustration, the pain, the sort of agony of defeat, to use the cliche of losing the state tournament. Well, it's kind of, Mainland obviously had that pain or that agony the past 2 seasons, losing to Ocean City in the South Jersey final. And especially last year's loss, especially frustrating for Mainland. But that's part of the game. That's part of maturing as an athlete, maturing as a team, is learning from that defeat, sort of, building off those losses and coming back and getting through, breaking through. And that's what Mainland was able to do this year. And you're absolutely right about the friendships they have and everything else. I mean, it would make common sense to people say, hey, everybody on a basketball team or everybody on a soccer team or everybody on a football team or everybody on a lacrosse or baseball team is friends and everybody gets along. But in 2019, that's not always the case. It's just kind of the world that we live in. So when it does happen, it is a rarity and it can be a team strength, and it is for Mainland. And obviously I think it starts with, their great player, Kylie Watson. I mean, she could have gone to any high school in the state of New Jersey. She could be at, a prep school. She could be at a IMG Academy in Florida. She could be out in Colorado with the U.S. team, going to a high school out there. But instead, she chose to go to the high school, down the street from where she lives, down the bike path, and play with girls that she grew up with. And I really think that friendship that they have, their strength of, that friendship that they have, that they built since, 2nd and 3rd grade in some cases, really has helped them this season, has helped them get through some of those rough spots. And now, they'll use that friendship as a strength when they take the court tomorrow against a Chatham team to try and win the state Group 3 championship.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, I've really been impressed with the development of Kylie's game. I mean, she's really learned how to avoid the kind of fouls that got her in trouble in some big games in her first 2 years of her high school career, most notably that Ocean City game last year where she basically was a non-factor in the second half because of all that foul trouble. She's learned that teams are going to double team her in the low post. She's learned how to, kick the ball out, trust her teammates, and she's gotten so much better at the foul line, the short jumpers. It's really neat to see a player that's that talented coming in, but is able to realize, like, hey, there's so much I still need to work on in my game to get better for the next level, and we're kind of seeing that development throughout this year.
Yeah, and it's not only the development of her. The other players on Mainland's team are very talented. You've got, Claudia Marone, outstanding three-point shooter. What does she have? More than 160 career three-pointers, the most in school history. So if teams double-team Watson inside, she can kick the ball out to Marone on the perimeter, who can hit some three-pointers. You have the freshman Cameron Dirks, who's one of the top freshmen in South Jersey, playing the point guard, just a tough, athletic kid. She's got the ability to get in the lane, create shots for herself and her teammates. You've got the other freshman, Caitlin Boggs, 5'11" freshman who has come off the bench, especially towards the end of the season and in the state tournament, and really, played some big minutes for them, been able to do some high-low things with Kylie Watson inside. So, you got Taylor Dazzell, the other senior, who's just a tough defender and kind of an inspirational leader on the team. So, you've got a really talented team over there at Mainland. And, it obviously showed, they're 27-3. And, again, facing a Chatham team that's 23-6, and two kind of very similar, very similar teams. If you read some of the stories about Chatham, they talk about their friendship and how they grew up together and how that's the strength of their team. So it's two kind of very similar teams that will meet tomorrow at noon in Toms River.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to Chatham coach Joe Gaba yesterday, and he's been there for a long time and has taken them to state finals. They've never won one either, I don't think. So somebody's going to win their first one in school history, and it should be just a great atmosphere up there. I guess that's the first game of a bunch of games at Toms River North. So it's always fun when you get to these state finals. Ocean City was there a couple of years ago. Don't really mind the drives this time of year when you get these exciting games, and you kind of, as these teams win and the other teams get eliminated, you start covering the teams that win more, so you kind of get to know more of the players and get to see them around a lot. So it's almost like, as a reporter, you're kind of taking the ride with them.
Yeah, and you're right. Chatham has played, I believe, in 4 state finals. The last time they were in was 2010. They lost the Group 2 final to Malcolm X Shabazz. That's back when Shabazz was one of the state's dominant programs and on a tremendous run. So they'll be looking for their first state championship. And again, I just think they're similar schools. They're similar sort of teams, Chatham and Mainland, kind of, similar runs that they've gone on. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think it's going to be a defense. Both teams emphasize defense. So it could be, the first team to score, get to that 45-point mark or hit that timely perimeter shot or go on that run or that surge. End of the third quarter, early fourth quarter is going to be the team that puts itself in position to win.
Yeah, I think the over-under is 65 for this game.
Yeah, I think, both teams play defense. Mainland sort of prides itself on defense. They've kept opponents in the 30s. Chatham, for the most part, keeps opponents in the 30s. So you could be the team that, sort of, like I said, breaks through that 40-point mark, gets to that 45 points, and hits that timely, three-pointer there that gets, brings home the state championship and advances to the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some really good defense played in the first half. I think the real key is going to be who plays better in the third quarter, like you said, coming out of halftime, who can make the better adjustments, and obviously foul trouble will be huge for both teams. And so, we'll see how it plays out. Should be an outstanding matchup tomorrow.
Yeah, in all these tournament games, it is the team, 90% of the time, it is the team that sort of takes the lead, in that late third quarter, early fourth quarter that is able to hang in and win. Now, we've talked a lot about the teams, the kind of blown leads, the Claytons come back, Haddonfield's come back, Rainey's come back, but, those are the exception. I mean, it's usually the team that kind of, takes command in that late third quarter, early fourth quarter that is able to hang on and win, and it'll probably be no different tomorrow.
Great stuff as always, Mike. We appreciate it. I'm sure we'll see you up there tomorrow, and expect a lot more stories to finish up this basketball season. Then we'll head right into spring if the sun ever comes out, it ever gets above 40 degrees.
It'll happen. It'll happen, Sully. And yeah, we'll have stories online today about the Mainland girls. I think we have a preview inside information up there right now. And I look forward to see you in Tom's River tomorrow. Should be a great day.
Good stuff, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, Mike.
You too. See you later, Sully.